Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Blog Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Saturday, September 3rd. Believe it or not, my friend Canada, it is September the 3rd, the 9th month of the year. We do welcome you to the show. And good afternoon, Zambia. Good evening, the Western Pacific parts of the world. And like we say here, good morning, America. How is Canada, my friend?
Canada is getting to the, is it fall season?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was surprised yesterday the kids were opening school. Who opened school on Friday?
Oh, yes. Open school on Friday? How?
I know.
Who does that?
Who does that? But we are okay. We are okay. I can sense some cold air already creeping in.
All right. Excellent. Yeah. All right. Those of you watching us, tag a friend and let everybody know that Zambia Blog Talk Radio is on the air. Let's go to Lusaka and find out. I saw people wearing sweaters, jackets, and everything. Mr. K, good morning. What's happening? The weather, I thought in September it's supposed to be getting hot.
So someone said that the previous regime really destroyed Zambia. We didn't know that September gets cold, you know?
They're saying Zambia is becoming Europe. That's what they're saying.
Oh, really? Guys, please leave Uncle Edgar alone. Leave Uncle Edgar alone. All right, everybody, we have a great show for you today. One of those unique things that we need to talk about, and this is good because it helps address and tackle some of the things. Let's welcome our guests here as we get ready to. Joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. Isaac Munswer, founder and CEO of Ubuntu Talks. Dr. Munswer, good morning.
Hello. I didn't realize I was being invited to a comedy show.
I like that. Yeah, it looks like you are joining in. We do that. Try to loosen up and get rid of the tensions. You know what
I mean, only Canadians would start school on a Friday, right?
Yes.
I know.
Yes. Interesting.
Right.
Welcome, Dr. Munswer. It's good to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Part of Dr. Munswer's team is Rev. Doctor. I'm going to give him Dr. Andrew Sakala, good friend of mine of many years. He's the Africa director for Ubuntu Talks. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, and thank you for having me on. And it's such a joy to see you again.
Excellent.
And to talk to you one-to-one. Thanks.
Yeah. We have, although he's going to be joining us at a later stage, we have now we have two Dr. Munswers here. So we have Dr. Sam Munswer. This is Uncle Sam. I shall say Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam, good to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. And we also have this is Mom joining us. Hello, Mom.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you all doing?
Doing fine. You see how your youths at North Mid have grown, have become old men.
Praise God.
All right. Okay. Let's talk to Dr. Munswer here and begin Ubuntu Talks. These are some of. This is a unique organization and a unique venture. What prompted this initiative, Dr. Munswer, and Ubuntu Talks?
For those of us in the diaspora, I think we can relate to this. You know, with distance comes separation. Think of a relationship. You have distance, you have separation, and so when you're disconnected from your native land, in my case Zambia, over time, you know, access to language, culture, heritage starts waning as you assimilate to a culture that is not really your own. And so over the decade, you know, I've spent perhaps less than a decade of my life was actually spent in Zambia, most in Europe and the United States. And so as I was growing older and having kids, you know, we need to reconnect with our language. You know, it's getting hard. When you travel to the villages, you know, you're having a hard time communicating with your grandparents, right? And so those are pain points. And so what do you do in a hectic schedule? How do you learn your language? It's very hard to do it within the context of family. You know, we're all over the place. And so I went online to see if I could find someone that could teach Tonga, and believe it, in the whole wide web world, not a single soul. And so for years I kept on searching and searching, and couldn't find a single person that could, you know, teach Tonga. And so COVID hits, pandemic happens. I was in academia, dean at a campus here in Georgia. The campus is closed down. I was at the tail end of my second doctorate, and you know, just figured, let me see if I can provide a solution to this problem. And in doing that, which was a personal ambition, it turns out that this is a global need. There's a global gap, and so many millions of people are in the same predicament. And that was really the genesis of Ubuntu, stemming from a real felt need, and empathizing with the millions of people in diaspora that want to connect but don't have the means to doing that.
Okay. So the organization operates on a global basis, right? And
yes.
Share with us the process you employed to identify and put together a team. You've already alluded that you had a challenge finding somebody to teach Tonga. So I can imagine what you went through to try and get a team together. How did that process happen?
The framework changed. It went from looking for a one-on-one tutor to saying, I know there's resource and qualified people in Africa. We just need to mobilize them on platforms through which they can teach the languages. And so really it was working on creating a platform through which qualified individuals in Africa can teach to the Western world, right? And so the approach was a bit different. We started off with Zambia, Malawi, and Kenya, who have a fairly extensive network. All of you know that the best way to hire or to recruit is through someone that you know. And so we took the grassroots approach. Initially, brought in some instructors that we knew, started piloting and testing and, you know, developing methodology, curriculum, and design. We have an in-house belt curriculum. So it's been a painstaking process, to say the least. I think as we expand from one country to the next, we're realizing the needs and the assets vary. And so we have to adapt and accommodate, you know, to the different environments in which we find ourselves. So currently the process is we're recruiting from several different platforms. You know, the Peace Corps has a qualified cohort of individuals. We're taking a preference to instructors that have taught in international schools. They have a little more proficiency with the technology and engaging with Western audiences. And once they come on board, they go through a rigorous onboarding process for about 3 weeks, where we increase capacity with respect to technology, comfort, you know, proctoring and teaching on virtual platforms. And also just engagement with the curriculum within their native language.
Excellent. Okay. Andrew, let me come to you. Maybe before I go to Andrew, Roger and Kasuluwa, if you have any questions for Dr. Munswer, please just jump in here. Andrew, how did you get involved with Ubuntu Talks? And you are in Africa, Zambia specifically. What does your role entail?
Okay, the first part of your question is exactly what Isaac had just mentioned here. You use the connections of people that you know to get the right kind of people that you can work with who have like mind and even like convictions. So in this case, Dr. Munswer Senior had called me from the US. We were talking, and so he expressed to me this idea of Ubuntu Talks and how that it's a new phenomenon in the sense that that was about to be launched, and so he asked if I would be interested, to be a part of it from the Africa base, and I said yes. It sounded good. It sounded like a great idea, and so he gave my number to Dr. Munswer Jr., Isaac. And so Isaac called me, and then he explained to me what it was about, and I liked the idea, and so I basically bought into it, and then we began to run together with it, And so my role entails just directing the affairs of Ubuntu Talks in Africa, and that means in the initial stages, it means a lot of hats that I'm wearing. As you'll appreciate, when an organization is really just getting started, there's a lot of things that you have to do. You'll be the janitor, you'll be the mailman, you do all kinds of things, to get things going. And so at this stage, we are developing, and essentially our core business is to be able to teach languages. So what we've targeted right from the start is to have tutors, and so we've got a tutor development director, we've got a curriculum development manager, and then at this point, we have a Southern African director who is Dr. Felix, and he's coming onto the platform as well. So essentially, we are expanding as we go along, and you can appreciate Africa is big, and it's got really hundreds and hundreds of languages. And so we have to be strategic in how we begin to develop ourselves and then target specific major languages. We obviously can't teach everything because it's thousands, but the major languages which people would be able to come into contact with are the ones that we are targeting in the sub-Saharan region. So essentially, I coordinate that and ensure that when we get these clients coming in, that we are prepared with what Isaac said, the curriculum. We started with that. We developed the curriculum. We then put together a team that would oversee those sort of things, and we begin to expand as we go along. I'll be able to share a little bit later about the fact that we essentially want to put Africa in regions so that it's manageable. Say a West African region, which would cover the Nigerias, the Ghanas, and the Gambias, and all those. And then we have an East African region, which includes the Horn of Africa and the big three in East Africa: Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Then Southern Africa, which is from Zambia going downwards, and then Central, that would cover the Congo, Chad, and areas like that. So essentially, the vision is big, but in a strategic way, we begin to bring it to pass systematically as we engage tutors and we progress that way. And might I also add, it's important that we have the right kind of people. So we have certain criteria that we use, and we will be able to share as we go along what those criteria are for us to have the correct type of tutors. Okay. So in a nutshell, my responsibility entails just really making sure that all the boats are tied and everything is oiled, so to speak. Yeah.
Dr. Munswer, you wanted to add on something?
Just to add a little color to what Andrea said, for people to appreciate what we're working with. Africa is broaching a billion. Some would say it's more. Census data in Africa can be sketchy. So let's say about 1 billion people, and we're really focused on sub-Saharan Africa, which 750 million people. So you asked the question, what are the most popular languages and how we are going about determining that. When we refer to the most popular languages, really we're referring to about 8 major languages that have over 10 million speakers. They would represent a vast diaspora group. African diaspora is arguably close to 300 million people now. When you look at Zulu and Shona, it has over 10 million people. Swahili, believe it or not, which the UN is trying to make an official global language now, has about over 150 million speakers in East Africa alone, right? Then you're looking at Nigeria, one country, and Andrew mentioned, sectoring. One country has 4 of the largest African languages. They have Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, Oroma. Oroma is a different country. But with Hausa, not too spoken of, they have about 40 million speakers, right? That language in of itself. That's to say, if you look at global needs and access to these languages, these represent major gaps. One language can service the needs of dozens of companies, right? And here we are trying to say, look, these gaps need to be met. We're filling in a space that no one else quite isn't. And so Andrew is right in saying, look, the work is vast, but we're learning along the process. And so far, it's been a fascinating journey.
Interesting. So, Andrew, your work, do you get to travel now? The world has opened up after the COVID situation. Do you get to travel to meet your instructors or people, or you do everything virtually?
Right now, it's everything virtually because there isn't a need to travel at this point. Because when we do have expanded work in specific countries where they need help on hand, then we would need to make those travels, and especially if we have to develop tutors. However, you'll appreciate that online you can do everything. You can do everything, so you minimize your costs. You only travel when you have to. And I think a little later we'll be talking about the symposium we'll have. But essentially, doing it here, I mean, I'm in touch with people in Ethiopia, in touch with people in Nigeria. And so if they need help, we teach them online. We teach them, if they need help with PowerPoint presentation, which is what we use when teaching our learners. But when it becomes necessary for us to travel, then we will make those trips. But at this point, we are really just developing the platform and the reach so that we have the necessary people who have the expertise to do it in their places where they're stationed. So for me, at this point, I don't need to travel unless it becomes absolutely necessary for whatever reason that might be.
Okay, I have a question actually.
Right.
When Nathan asked the question, I think he asked he already has the knowledge about this organization. So
right.
It was kind of in the middle for some of us who don't.
Right.
The question is, what is Ubuntu Talks? I think let me ask you,
sure.
what is this? When was the organization created? I ask that question because I hear you're already in Nigeria, you are already in East, and it should be, so to say, already established in Zambia. That is my assumption. If we are going that far. So those are my two questions. What is Ubuntu?
The advantage that Nathan has is that he knows both of us. So
that's a problem.
Nathan has had 2 de facto interviews, so he has a working advantage.
He'll tell you stuff about me that he'll tell you stuff about me that we actually lived together for years.
but to your question,
go ahead, Isaac.
To your question, what is Ubuntu Talks? We are the world's only unified platform providing access to major sub-Saharan African languages. What does that mean? There are a lot of language learning platforms. The online learning space is the biggest growing sector, one of the largest growing sectors currently, 10% annual growth rate. But if you look at the learning language platforms, Preply, Babbel, they really have Western languages or Eastern languages and an absence of African languages, except for Arabic. Now, every once in a while, you'll find a freelancer or 2 teaching some major sub-Saharan African languages like Swahili, Zulu. But there's no unified platform to say with any African language you want access to, here it is. And so that's who we are. Ubuntu is a Shona or Zulu word. It means really I am because we are. And Bishop Desmond Tutu is really the one who pushed the concept of Ubuntu. He was a big proponent. He described the person that's true to Ubuntu as one who's generous, hospitable, friendly, caring, and compassionate. It's kind of like African characteristic, right? And so it speaks of humanity as being interwoven and bound up with others. And so because we belong, we participate, we share with one another. So the concept of Ubuntu encourages the person to the responsibilities of communal good, to find one's good in community. And so what we're doing is saying, not only are we providing a language learning platform, we're providing a community through which African language and culture can be exposed to the global community as a whole, because there isn't such a platform. And it creates a disconnect. Everything that 96% of what we understand, concepts and ideas, are through Western languages, English and French and so forth and so on. And we don't have a representation of our languages on a global scale. And so it creates several different gaps across sectors. For instance, all of us except for my brother, well, actually two of you, are in the West. When you go through Western academia, on your campuses, you have to take language, but these languages will be Spanish, French, English, German. There's no Tonga on there. There's no Bemba. There's no Zulu. There's no Chichewa. Part of the reason why is not because the institutions don't want to teach these languages. They don't have access to qualified individuals that can teach them. So one of the things that we're doing is saying we will connect you with qualified instructors in Africa that can effectively now start introducing these languages to Western universities and European universities, and eventually Eastern universities as well. The other thing is the West sends, and I'm using West in a broad sense, I don't want to murk the waters here. The West also has millions of people going into Africa every year, and the first part of the conversation is, do you speak English? It's never speaking to the people in their terms on their language. So what we're saying is we need to change that narrative, and people should have at least the courtesy to be able to say, my name is such and such, what is your name in your particular language? Hello, right? So at least there's that respect and common footing. And let me share this experience. I speak a little French, just studying it over the years. But when you're in a new environment, you kind of like feel shy to speak. You don't want to embarrass yourself, especially as adults. The difference between kids and adults is that kids don't care. We're very conscientious. And so I'm in France and I say, do you speak English? And the guy says, where do you think you are? And so that rang a bell. In Africa, the mindset is different. So if you come to Zambia and you're going to Northern Province or the Southern Province, at least be able to dialogue to an extent to say, I appreciate you and I value your languages and your cultures, right? So that's another gap that we're filling. In addition to the many needs, and I'm not going to address them all right now, but dubbing services just within continent, the Ministry of Malawi and Andrew can tell you the story. We're in discussion with them because they're saying we're losing business in East Africa because our folk can't speak Swahili. Can you teach us Swahili? All right. We're having dubbing companies in Kenya say, hey, we need dubbing services and voiceovers in Lozi and Bemba. And we're thinking there's nobody else doing this stuff. We're having people within the same country saying, I'm getting married to someone that speaks a different language. Can you teach me their language? Like, we're teaching you your language in your country. We have people saying our grandkids can't speak to their grandparents when they go to the village. Can you teach them their languages? So the virtual platforms have provided a means by which we can connect people intracontinental and globally to these respective languages. And so this is really who we are as a philosophy. Just last point. As a philosophy, Ubuntu speaks of, and this is the way Desmond Tutu approached it, it speaks of restorative justice, right? To restore, against retributive, to punish. And so what we're trying to do is restore the dignity of Africans in sub-Saharan Africa on the global plane, right? And make things like equal, respectable. and hence the concept of Ubuntu. This concept talks, it speaks, right? And so hence the name Ubuntu Talks. And our mission and vision is really we envision a world in which everyone has easy access to learning sub-Saharan African languages.
I just wanted to add something, if I may, that essentially what we need to appreciate that Africa has a very rich culture, very rich culture. And I mean, all of you here will appreciate that and agree with me. And so, but unfortunately, we've been sort of couched in a lot of hidden knowledge, and it's not been exposed to the rest of the world. We have a lot to offer to the rest of the world. Africans have a lot to offer to the rest of the world. And how best can we offer it? But when people learn our languages and be able to connect with us at the level at which we are culturally, and so as Ubuntu Talks, one of the most important things that we envision is to target 4 different groups of people as we're teaching languages. We target the tourist who comes into our region and connects with the community when they come here. At least they can be able, if they go to Livingstone, for example, in Zambia, where the Victoria Falls is, they can speak Tonga. When they go to the northern province, they can speak Bemba. When they come to Lusaka, they can speak Chichewa or Nyanja. So the tourists would find it very good and easy for them to tour our region when they can at least connect with the community on a local level. And then secondly, we target the diaspora, like Isaac has been saying. We target the diaspora children, people who have lost their language and culture over the years, and so they want to reconnect, with where their origins are. So we target them. That's the second group. And then the third group is the business community. You'll appreciate that, and this business community includes medical people, because how better would it be for a medical doctor to be able to talk to a patient for some specialized treatment in the local language, and then they can even administer the medical interventions much better to a local who can't speak English, but the doctor can speak in the local language. So the business community, which includes the medical, would really find it useful even in doing business in areas which are perhaps remote from the urban areas. They're doing farming or exploring, whatever, and so they can connect with the locals in the local language. And then fourthly, it's for educational purposes. There are some people who'd like to connect with institutions that are in the West or wherever they're coming from, and be able to learn our languages for educational purposes. Like you've just heard Isaac say about Swahili, and other languages that people would like. What is interesting also is that there was a concern to be able to learn Hausa because of the possibility of doing sort of mitigating dialogue with people who are in places where there's Boko Haram and places like that. Now, when you understand the language, you can dialogue. You can actually bring peace in an area because you're connecting with the people at a local level. So really, it's far-reaching. But those are the 4 major areas, and I think those 4 major areas encompass just generally everybody. And so that's our approach. And so we see that as a very important thing for us to do and do it well. And so we will talk about how we go about doing that. But essentially, our thrust is to ensure that Africa is known and Africa's culture is also exposed to everybody else, and then people will appreciate what we have to offer.
Right, and let me just add to complete the question. We're a young institution, face forward, but Ubuntu started, let's say, over a year, going on to 2 years ago. And before we introduced ourselves to the world, there was a lot of painstaking work behind the scenes in terms of piloting and testing. You'll have to appreciate some of the challenges that we had to overcome, such as technology, such as electricity going out in Africa, right? And so we're going through testing sessions, and the lights have gone out, not only for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but days. We're like, you know what? if we're going to make this happen, we have to find a solution to some of these problems, some of which our instructors need generators. Our instructors need MiFis. Our instructors need laptops, right? And so there have been some challenges that we've had to overcome to get where we are. The speed of which at which we've grown, we would just have to say it's Godspeed. It seems as though anyone that looks at the scale and the scope will not realize how young we are. In part, I think it has to do with market demand. And let me give you some practical examples. There's this guy, I hope is not related to you, Roger. This guy in Seattle, he's a Bemba guy. And so this guy comes to the United States and he gets arrested and he's in court. The guy can barely speak English. So here the court is saying, can we find someone who can speak Bemba because we need to prosecute this guy, right? And so there's a very prominent university. I'm not even going to put them out there like that. It's an Ivy League school. They were so desperate to teach one of their kids Luganda that they ended up hiring, they won't tell the world this, someone that does not speak, did not have a college degree, just to teach the language, right? And so the needs are practical, and this is just Zambia, Bemba. Multiply that exponentially across the continent, and you can see how big the needs are tied to language and language access.
No, but the Bemba one, he was pretending. They are smart.
Yeah, I don't speak English, right?
Don't go there, Andrew. Don't go there.
That's good.
Anyway, I know. There is a joke about our Latino friends pulling that one to say, me speak no English.
I don't speak English, right? You've been here for 20 years and you don't speak English.
I know, right? Let's take a break here as we continue our discussion. Let's just watch this video clip, which has some interesting information.
Welcome. My name is Yvonne, the Director of Tutor Development for Ubuntu Talks. A well-known cleric known as Desmond Tutu once said, "A person that is true to Ubuntu is usually generous, hospitable, friendly, caring, and compassionate." Ubuntu Talks emphasizes our humanness because we belong and we share our African languages. Now, this is not an ordinary language learning platform. We are connecting people from all over the world with sub-Saharan professional tutors from within their native lands. Ubuntu Talks is the only specialized virtual language tutoring platform. This platform guarantees the authenticity of your language learning and ensures you achieve your desired goals. Sign up for one of our many courses today. See you virtually.
All right, that's Mrs. Yvonne Sakala, one of the instructors at Ubuntu Talks. One of the things that you have done, Andrew, is you've broken this down in a very nice way. Tourist, diaspora, business community, and educational purposes. The question I wanted to ask here, maybe we can bring in, what's her name? Is he there? No, I think he dropped. What's his name?
Dr. Felix?
Yeah, Doctor. Is he there? I don't see him. Okay. You both can address this question. These four categories that you have outlined or tabulated, the awareness, how does the awareness come about for Ubuntu Talks? For example, you have tourist groups, organizations. There are these companies that do organize a tour to Israel, a tour to East Africa, like, people want to go to the summit of the Kilimanjaro and all those kind. So how does that work when organizations want to connect with you?
Recently, and let me add to what Andrew said. I think this is also unique. We've realized the need within faith-based communities to have we call them crash course training.
Missionaries.
And so with any groups, which would include tourists or even missionaries, We bring them in and train them for about 3 to 5 hours on the basics that they need to know. And what we realize in training them on the basics and what they need to know is that they're more interested in, just the experience. What do people eat? Do they use their hands? And so it seems as though if we can train as many as we can before they arrive, then the cultural shock is absorbed somewhat. And unfortunately, the misconceptions with respect to African people, what they've seen on cartoons and TV, that's all they know. They've never really engaged with Africans within a local or even in international context. And so to provide that opportunity before they travel to engage with someone on the ground and to speak about the language and the culture is beneficial. Recently, we trained a team of, these were from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. They were doing some missions work out there in Malawi. And so we spent some time training them in Chichewa before they departed for Malawi, and it just completely changed their experience. And so this is what we're working on. A lot of it has to do with marketing and sales and awareness. And so as we grow as a company, more people will become aware of our product to address some of these needs. But in terms of positioning, everything's in place to facilitate those transactions.
Okay.
Yeah, Brother Nathan, also to add to what Isaac has said with regard to our own visibility, we have to be modern in our approach. And so, Facebook, places like that, and of course, even, your blog here, it's part of the exposure that we need and are looking for. And so we've got to have a professional approach where we see whether our website is getting traction with people. And so we make the necessary adjustments to ensure that we are more visible, because once people, a lot more people know based on how we present ourselves, even the search engines that in Google and such search engines, when they Google language learning, our name should come up. We're young, yes, but our names should come up. And so in our interactions and our networks, we're looking to making sure that we are more visible. And with like I said, with people like yourselves and other people that we interact with, we get to be known, by the people who need to know us and need this sort of service. And so there are many different avenues that we are employing to ensure that we are a lot more visible, because the word Ubuntu in this part of the world is known. It's a known, but then Ubuntu Talks needs to be known as a language learning platform. And so we are really at the stages where we're trying to make ourselves a lot more global in perspective and obviously visibility. Yeah.
Okay.
The other on that point, Nathan, just one more thing. We're also looking to expand to the Eastern world, and so which would entail our instructors being proficient in Chinese and Eastern languages to facilitate the same process.
Kasuluba, before Kasuluba comes in, now that you've mentioned Chinese, let's get to this point before, what do they say? I lose my thought of trend or trend
my train of thought.
Whichever it is. Mr. K, get ready to come in with your question. What are the languages that you are offering or catering or covering for at this moment? We know it's a young organization, so there's somebody listening out there and they're like, I'm interested in this. So which are the languages you are offering?
So any one of our languages on the website have been developed and have instructors to teach. And so those would include, and I don't want to give you an extensive list. So if you go to our website and you have you see an instructor on there, those languages we can teach. And so we have Swahili, Somali, Luganda, Igbo, Chichewa, Hosa, any one of those languages we can teach. We have Bemba, Nyanja, Tonga, so the list is already fairly extensive. And
Amharic.
Yeah, Amharic.
Oroma.
And so we're onboarding almost on a weekly basis new instructors. The interview process doesn't stop. And so on a weekly basis, we're adding new instructors. But in addition to that, if there is a qualified instructor that wants to join, let's call it our network, our movement, this enterprise, they can send an email to the address that you've provided there with their CV and qualifications, the languages they teach. We will interview them, and they'll go through. It's an extensive vetting process, and we're really working on getting the best that the best Africa has to offer. So I will say up front, it's an extremely rigorous vetting process. But nonetheless, individuals can apply, and we will consider the application and take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Mr. K?
I love it. I love the whole initiative. It reminds me, Uncle Nathan, of some time, I think just after the university, there was an institution from the UK that came in, so they were carrying out a research. Mm-hmm. Now they were interviewing the locals on the Copper Belt. They were interviewing them in English, quite all right, but then the response was in Bemba. So now they needed someone to actually translate what they were saying, and I was fortunate at that point to be the person that was translating from Bemba to English. And
you were translating.
Yeah. So okay. It has actually made me realize to say there's actually so much need and in all that. My first question to Dr. Munswer is that you have made mention to say you only spent, you left, is it Zambia? You only spent time, is it for a period less than 10 years?
So I was born in Zambia at a young age. Family was in Europe for a period of time. Came back to Zambia, migrated to the United States early in my high school years. And so my interaction, or at least residence within the continent, has represented less than a third of my life. Just the brief, actually more, less than a quarter of my life.
During that period,
I'll date myself and make it seem like I'm 30. No, just a small portion of my life, right?
But did you get an opportunity to acquaint yourself with local language, or maybe how was it?
So you asked. I like your questions. I'll go to your first one. You've realized the need for language at a local level. What happens is a lot of international companies, let's say any foreigner coming into Africa, especially doing work within the context of peri-urban or out of urban areas, need some kind of language translation. And often what happens is they get the best or only person they can find to facilitate that process. So one of the other things that we're doing for the global market is to say, we will get you translators who have subject expert in your field. So for instance, if you're coming on a medical program, we will get you translators with medical background to facilitate that process, so nothing's lost in translation, right? If you're going to do agricultural work, we will get you someone from that sector. There's nothing worse than getting a translator and having them do translation in a church, and you're speaking about baptism, and they're talking about something entirely different, right? So where the translation, the safest bet, so nothing is lost, is that you're using individuals that understand the language you're trying to translate within those sectors or fields, all right? In terms of my personal engagement, this is very common even within Africa. Usually what happens in, say, Lusaka, there's a dominant language that everyone tries to speak. Nyanjo, Bemba, no matter what tribe you are. So those languages you need to know. So in our context, the house helps speak Nyanja, which is not my native tongue. So here I'm growing up speaking Nyanja because those are the people you're around. You go to school, if the dominant tribe there is Bemba, guess what? You end up speaking Bemba. It's still not your native tribe. Then another challenge, and it's becoming more progressive. It's a good challenge, but it's still a challenge. People within the same country, but the husband and wife are of different tribes.
Yes.
What language are the kids taught, right? And so what's happened historically, and is progressing to happen, unfortunately, is that English becomes the mode of communication to bring the entire family together. Because if you're speaking Lozi, and your wife is Tonga, the husband may not know Lozi, so you can't speak in Lozi. So one tends to default to the language of the other, whatever the language is, the dominant language. And so what happens with the diaspora community, you're pulled out from that cultural environment, and you're around only English speakers. So the only place at which interchange or intercourse can take place in terms of language is within the house. But that now starts getting separated because everything around you, TV, your books, your instruction, are all in English. And so it starts creating more of a disconnect over time. And so that's the phenomena that happens with diaspora, first generation. By the time you get to our kids and their kids, there's an entire disconnect. And one thing Andrew did not mention, out of Ubuntu Talks, we have an Ubuntu Talks Kids language training program. And these are instructors that are specialized to teach kids in those native languages so that we can start reacclimating their kids and absolve the parents of the responsibility and the pain of not having taught their kids those particular languages.
Amazing. The other question that I have, which maybe I'm going to direct to Reverend Sakala, but you could also come in, Dr. Munswer, is that on your website, you've made mention some of the offers being virtual language classes, translation services, and kids summer camps. But then my interest is on the kids summer camps. How is it done? What's the whole idea around it?
Just like Andrew can get to this. It's just what I mentioned. In our research, we realized there's parents are wanting to teach the kids their languages because they can't do it in of themselves, but they don't have platforms to doing it. So as we launched the kids program, we were amazed to realize that diaspora communities, say the community of Nigerians in America, reached out to us to say, can you teach our kids our languages? And these are entire communities now soliciting our services to teach their kids these languages. And so I just wanted to add to that. Andrew, you can.
Yes, as a matter of fact, you've answered the question, but I wanted to add that the idea of the summer camps is to also give opportunity for the kids to learn the sub-Saharan language, African language, at the time when they are not in school, you see. And so it's a great opportunity for them to use their time when they are on hiatus to be able to learn the language. And they're excited about doing that. In fact, a case in point is one child that Yvonne was teaching, the one you saw in the video, from the US, teaching Tonga to this child. And it's amazing that the child can now count in Tonga. She can sing Tonga songs. And the parents are Tonga, and they wanted her to learn. And what is interesting is that we met the father. He came visiting to Zambia just very recently, just about a week ago. We met, and the little child sent Yvonne a little gift, appreciating her for teaching her Tonga. And obviously, Yvonne reciprocated with some nice gift for her. So it's that sort of interaction. The child, when that child comes to Zambia, the child will not feel lost. When they greet her in Tonga, she'll be happy. And she's only 6 years old, And so, and for kids in particular, they're not like us. We are a bit headstrong, to break into our habits and learn something new is much more difficult than a child, And so that connection with Ubuntu Talks Kids is a very important one, because then we are developing a new generation that will connect with their native countries.
To that point, Andrew, we're running out of time here. Before we switch to talk about the upcoming symposium in 2023, what is the recommended age? Dr. Felix is still not here. I wanted to throw this question at him. What is the recommended age to start teaching kids? Let's address the diaspora now, because there's a great need for this. What's the recommended age to start teaching kids another language?
Well, I guess you can say that as early as possible, but in our case, for one important reason, the attention span online is very limited for the very young. Okay. So to keep them seated in front of a computer if they are like 3 years old would be really a tall order. But So we group them into age groups.
Yeah.
Like correct me, Isaac, if I miss the ages here. 6 to 9 is a group, and then there is 10 to 11. That's another group, and then there is the youth, which is up to about 14 years old. So when we're providing the learning, we have to tailor our curriculum to meet the needs of the particular age group.
Okay.
You see, so because we understand their attention span, we understand their language ability. You know, the 6-year-old, their language is a little more limited than the 14-year-old. And so, to answer your question, as early as possible, but for our purposes, we start them at 6 years old because it's easier to keep them in one place with the supervision of a parent, perhaps, and then we get them into a curriculum that is exciting, that will keep their attention. You know, we show them pictures and stuff. Whereas with an adult, you may not need to show them too many pictures. But for kids, they get fascinated by seeing a ball and telling them what that ball is in the native language. And then, you know, the pictorial way of teaching ensures that they keep interested. So for Ubuntu Talks, we start around 6 years old. You know?
Okay. Yeah. So everybody watching, for communication purposes, there are email and the toll-free number for those in the US, Canada. It's scrolling down there. So pick up the phone, call them and say, it's about time this young lady started learning Tonga and all that that will be exciting. All right, let's watch this video clip and then we shall talk about the upcoming symposium. All right. So Ubuntu Talks is hosting a language symposium in 2023. Tell us about the objectives, who can attend, and why Lusaka?
Yeah, so web conferencing has removed the logistical barriers of space and time. So the world has become a lot more connected. And it underscores the need to navigate the remaining boundaries of language and culture in the professions and the disciplines. And so we are bringing experts from the professions and the disciplines to talk about how we bridge sub-Saharan African languages with the global community. And the need is multi-sector. And so we're going to have several areas of focus, which would include education, technology, healthcare, missional enterprise, tourism, diaspora needs, and global corporations. And so this is really what's taking place. How do we collectively work across sectors to help mitigate this challenge with respect to accessing sub-Saharan African languages? Okay.
So it will be held in Lusaka. If somebody wants to attend, what do they do? Who can attend?
There's we've made it very simple for people to purchase tickets. To find out more information on the event, they just need to go to ubuntutalks.com. There's a tab that says events. You can click on that, or if you want the direct URL, it's just ubuntutalks.com/events.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, Nathan, it's taking place at the Mulungushi International Conference Center. You know what, Nathan? It's not quite the way you left it. It's really fantastic. You know, it really is a beautiful place.
I've been told they've added something called Kenneth Kaunda. What? They've added
absolutely. You know, the Kenneth Kaunda Center. It's bigger than the old one. You know.
Oh wow.
It's bigger. And we hosted the African Union meeting here in the Kenneth Kaunda Center. You know, so really. It's really up there, you know, internationally. So we are really proud to host it. And you, to answer the question, why Zambia? Well, here essentially is the headquarters for the Africa region, and so it's the best place to really bring this first symposium, to the world. And I guess I can preempt the information that we are bringing together. Like Isaac said, 300 plus practitioners, experts in different fields, medical, business. We have a number of very well-known speakers that will be a part of it, and so we are excited to present that.
Let me add to that. So those are, when we say experts, I've mentioned the different sectors. It's subject experts within those sectors, right? But in terms of attendance, this is going to have 1,000 plus people, plus the 300 experts. So at least 1,500. It's going to be a fairly large conference. Like Andrew has said, the speakers are fairly globally known and influential individuals. We're working with the universities of Harvard and Cambridge, having representation out there. We're working with Google and Facebook. We're working with the local governments and having representation from. So every major sector, we want to have representation of people that want to contribute toward broaching some of these gaps that we've identified.
Okay, excellent. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting time, and those interested in attending,
you need to attend, Nathan.
Yes, Nathan. Not only do you need to attend, we're looking for sponsors, and so this is a marquee event, first of the sort, and for anyone within your networks that would be interested in sponsoring this event because they identify with a cause. They can use that same email address to contact us. For those in diaspora, we will have some virtual options for them to log in and attend the conference. But nonetheless, we would prefer that we fill up planes and get everybody out there.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm sure
we'll give you some preaching engagements, Nathan. You need to.
I don't want preaching engagements. I want to come and hang out with you. And eat Yvonne's in Shima, period.
He's missed the original in Shima because the media doesn't quite do it.
You know what my favorite meeting is? Choma meeting. Yes. I miss Choma meeting. I hope it's still there.
It is.
Let's end this by so if somebody wants to get in touch with you guys, they are interested in being an instructor, they have a child who wants to learn the language, they are sending a missions team to Somalia. I've got two questions in one question. Isaac, I'm interested in, how did you find that Somalian instructor?
Again, on-ground connections. It's only 2 degrees of separation.
That's right.
It's someone.
So what language? What language do what is the language?
So that's going to be Somali.
Somali.
So, yes.
And a bit of Oromo.
And so teach a Somali. With some of our instructors, they're in more sensitive regions than others, and
yes.
But yeah, Somali, and again, let me tell you this, Nathan. We have Meta, Facebook, was amazed at the amount of traffic coming to our site, and so we're having thousands of people visit the website. And so anyone that's looking for a particular language, say Somali or Yoruba or Luganda, whatever the case may be, when they search, we're beginning to populate now, right? And so that's now creating interest. And so on a daily basis, we're having applicants from just all around the world saying, hey, I would like to teach one thing or another. How can I assist? We're working on scale. We don't quite have the bandwidth to absorb all this, and hence the need for partnerships and sponsors and volunteers, more staff, but it's an impressive and amazing process so far.
Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you. So the question I'm supposed to ask: anybody wants to contact you about anything? That's the information down there, right? That email.
Yes.
And for those in North America, the toll-free number, as they call it here.
Right,
So,
and the easier way would be just go to our website. On almost every page, there's a way by which you can contact us. You can fill out a contact form. One thing I can say is that we also offer free trials in some of these languages. If people want to get a feel for the experience, they can do that as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our show for today, Ubuntu Talks. Dr. Isaac Munswer, the CEO and founder, and the Reverend Dr. And there are so many bishop positions in Africa, and Chief Apostle Andrew Sakala is the Africa director. Isaac, I just had to throw that one in. I just had to throw that one in. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to connect and work on some things together.
Absolutely.
March, April is it's next year. We can have you back and sort of push the symposium coming up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan, and Co, for the opportunity. We're honored to having shared your platform.
Yeah,
excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like they say, you've said the way you've put your team together of instructors, networking, connectivity, that's how this came up. Wonderful friend connected Isaac and I, and not realizing that I was talking to Isaac, who is the Munswer, and it just spiraled backwards.
Two degrees of separation. Right.
I discovered that I'm talking to these people and I've known them for so many years, and that kind of thing. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Mr. K, that's our show for today. We'll see you next week.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.